You're gonna be walking. You're gonna be sliding. You're gonna be running. You're gonna be climbing. And you're gonna be doing whatever the hell this is. It's very much like the first attempt that we got at Death Stranding. I think the two biggest bits in common that they share are a similar emotional core and the same premise. Oh no, on the other side of this planet, or in Death Stranding's case, continent, is a person I need to rescue. And off you go, traversing over a vast and desolate landscape. Albeit, the definition of rescue does change in both games, but that's not the important bit. Unfortunately, that is about all they share in terms of similarities. Aphelion severely differs from Death Stranding on one big distinction. As much as Death Stranding got its ass handed to it for the first attempt, the director's cut was very much its saving grace. Aphelion, on the other hand, has just sort of stayed in the same festering pool of meh. And what do I mean by meh? Well, let's start here. The narrative is definitely rushed. The entirety of the game is set up in the very beginning with about 5 minutes of exposition between the two main characters. And their discourse during this time rather hints at an apparent romantic relationship and not about what we need to do on this planet we're coming up on. We don't know what this place is, and we don't even know our plan to save humanity. And then, I kid you not, we suddenly crash. With that, and the very minimal background information we're given on the characters, I found it very hard to want to even care about the story. As I mentioned, there are two characters in this story, but it certainly feels like you're playing two different games. One character is almost entirely in a Tomb Raider-style traversal game, and the other character, Thomas, that poor chap, is essentially stuck in one giant walking simulator. He's constantly limping around, listening to audio logs and reading conversations between people we don't know. You'll spend your first few hours moving painstakingly slow, whether that's up, down, or around, and don't totally be surprised if you don't always know the way forward. It's with these opening hours it becomes apparent the mechanics behind the game just don't hold up, which is quite the problem. You see, traversal and exploration are all this game have, but once the novelty wears off, the mechanics behind them simply aren't fun enough to carry the experience. I found it very much wanted you to play a certain way. It didn't appreciate straying off the intended path, and I found it very frustrating. Regardless of whatever type of traversal you were doing, it always ended up becoming a nuisance. I had the most gripes with the climbing. There were plenty of times it would straight up refuse to let me jump to another ledge that I thought was absolutely reachable. Rappelling, especially on the descent, was another major pain in the ass. For some reason, you'd rappel down a few feet and then stop, even though I never once moved my left stick from the down position. The rappel used a grapple, and that grapple could be used as a swing. And again, as I mentioned about the climbing, it didn't always appreciate you trying to swing when you wanted to. Outside of the mechanics being a real pain in the rear, it was also very glitchy and buggy. Again, me being a trailblazer had plenty of cases of breaking the game because I wanted to go my own route. I really struggled with the whole no deviating from the path thing. There were no shortcuts. They didn't really allow them. Me and the game would have very different definitions of what was achievable and what wasn't. Here, let's go through some clips. Oh, really? You're saying I can't jump to that? Or when I tried to bridge this gap. Okay, how about this one? How do you think this clip ends? Let's find out. Now, keep in mind, she has survived this fall. And she's also survived the crash landing that we executed. There's stealth. Let's just throw stealth up in some air quotes, though. I really think it's a bit of a stretch. The whole point of it is due to the fact you're being stalked by a blind creature. So, you slightly crouch over and avoid being too loud. Which, I don't know, still, most portions of the stealth are just hunched over walking from point A to B with the occasional obstacle in the way. As much as I'm dunking on it, I do want to give this game its flowers, point out the pros to it. Great sound design. The cutscenes and the game design itself, very grandiose, in a good way. They're just rich in detail and so visually pleasing. Both actors, I want to give a commendable performance to, a little golf clap. Unfortunately, though, it's a short list of good things to say. I appreciate the genuine effort, and again, I'll give them some flowers and a golf clap, but I don't know. Aphelion simply isn't anything to write home about.